Hey guys, welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. My name is Brian.
And my name is Maggie.
And we interview Asian entrepreneurs around the world to amplify their voices and empower Asians to pursue their dreams and goals.
We believe that each person has a message and a unique story from their entrepreneurial journey that they can share with all of us. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. My name is Maggie.
My name is Brian.
And today we have a very special guest. His name is Andrew Fung. And along with his brother, David, they have been full-time on YouTube for almost 8 years. Over that time, they've hosted their own TV show, performed and spoken at multiple college campuses, interviewed presidential candidates, dabbled in music, worked with many of the biggest brands, and traveled across the world collaborating with different artists. While their YouTube channel is still going strong, they've recently started working on a few cool projects outside of YouTube, such as a guidebook for Asian America and a food concept in New York. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you. That was quite the intro. I appreciate it. It was very flattering. But no, yeah, I mean, it's cool to connect, and it's cool I like what you guys do with the group, and I know you guys are working hard to kind of build community, and I think that's really important. So yeah, shout out to the Asian Hustle Network, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Andrew. So let's quickly dive into your background and your upbringing. What is that like? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I think speaking for me and David, we grew up in the south part of Seattle, particularly a place called Kent, but we spent a lot of time in the city. It wasn't like an Asian enclave or anything. Like grew up at a sports school, very focused on sports. A lot of like NBA and NFL players would come out of it. So that's kind of the environment we grew up in. I think that's like kind of a lot of our perspective comes from kind of growing up more in a, demographically speaking, it was more just like an overall America. Like it was like, mostly white, black, a little bit of Asian, a little bit of Hispanic growing up. So not as much in Washington, in the western part of Washington. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just, Seattle was like a really good, it's not heavy in the entertainment industry on a large scale, but what it is good at, it's kind of good at it's good for getting your reps in, and letting kind of like spreading your wings out and practicing and kind of diving into things. And I think that there's always benefits to starting in a smaller market or kind of training in a smaller market. They say in stand-up comedy, I was talking to I think Ali Wong one time, and a long time ago, she was like, yo, it's like really hard to get your career started in LA. Coming from a smaller place, but with a name from there and bringing it to a larger market, it's better. But for us, we didn't really build our channel there, but we just got a lot of practice there, and yeah, I mean, it was good. But yeah, mostly grew up around most of our good friends growing up were Southeast Asian, more Viet, Filipino, Cambodian. But on Sundays we'd go to, our Chinese church. And then at school we'd be competing just with anybody else on the basketball team or the football team. So it was a good mixture of pretty American upbringing, I suppose.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And so, growing up in Kent, Washington, we know that your YouTube content is mostly based around, Asian identity. Do you think growing up in Kent has kind of shaped you and David to come up with the content that you wanted to focus your YouTube channel on?
Yeah, I think growing up, we always knew we were Asian. There was no question. And even being Chinese amongst non-Chinese Asians, right? There's being Chinese is such a thing, because we're kind of the default Asian. So you know that you're Asian when you go to school and stuff like that. And so those thoughts were always in our head. And it was always kind of a conversation, even at a young age. So I can't say we've been all of a sudden one day we moved to LA and started making Asian content. It was actually something we always did a little bit of, even if we were making our little our rap songs back in the day, or doing any type of skits, or even doing starting to do stand-up comedy in Seattle. A lot of the material was still about identity.
Yeah.
So our identity has been a thing, for a while. So it's definitely not a new convo for us to have. Although things are always changing in the space, right? You know, I mean, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And then how did you and David make your way to New York, and like how'd you guys get started in media and entertainment?
Well, we got started definitely in LA in about 2011. And that was like right after college, and David had done some things in Asia and then came back and then pretty much waited for me to graduate real quick. And I graduated a little bit earlier, and then we just moved down and just got to work. And like I still had to fly back while I was working full time, starting to do YouTube.
Right.
And I still had to fly back to walk with the rest of my class for my graduation. So that's like how early I was already like in LA when like my other friends were still like finishing up school. But I think it was just the desire was always there, and we just always wanted to get into media and entertainment from such a young age, whether that was like, I think if you ask David, he might have wanted to be like a music label A&R. Like those are things that we talked about growing up, and we always talked about performing. And like, obviously at some point becoming a musician ourselves was just like, guys, this is probably not going to work, but it could still do something for us, but it's not going to be like the way we make it. Mm-hmm. So we were like, all right, so, you know, at some point you check the dream, or like, even when we were super young, I think playing in the NBA was a dream, although obviously you realize quickly, you know, you're pretty far from it. And you start to realize what it actually takes to become a pro athlete or become even a pro entertainer. So we were more on the path of being a pro entertainer. But for us, just like, man, the hunger was always there for it. So when we moved to LA, we kind of knew what we wanted to do, not exactly how we wanted to do it, but obviously the whole Asian American YouTube scene was popping up, you know, with obviously Wong Fu being one of the leaders and originators in that, kind of like keeping the community together at that time. And so, we just like, we're working full time, just started doing YouTube, and we found that it was the best way to kind of get our message out, because I think we did some stand up in LA when we first got there, but like we were doing some of the things that we wanted to say, like the kind of identity based material, and we just weren't feeling it. We weren't feeling the scene, and we were like, you know what, for two young guys, I don't know, this is like probably not the two young Asian dudes, I don't know, people not really trying to see this. It's like, it wasn't working with us, you know, but there, you look at the waves that come, and it's kind of like, you know, if you guys have ever gone surfing or anything, you can imagine what surfing is like. You have to, you kind of like paddle out on your board out until you see that wave coming, and then you try to ride that wave, and you ride it out, and then sometimes the wave goes down, and this is for anybody's career, and then you paddle back out, and then you're just working. Right. But if you just stay there and you don't paddle, then you probably won't catch the wave, or that's not a good way to catch the wave. But if you're paddling out towards the wave and you see it coming, you know, that's how you surf, right? So that's kind of what we're doing. We're like, yo, this is what we always wanted to do it, but here's this YouTube thing, so let's do that. And then, so I think a lot of I don't want to make this sound old, but our generation of YouTubers who've been in the game for probably 7+ years, a lot of people got into it having like the bigger, I guess, the mainstream dreams first, because YouTube is not something we grew up with, but then seeing YouTube as the route. And then embracing that and just like, you know, diving into it and loving it, you know. But now you see these young YouTubers that are like 20 and they're like, they grew up with it. Like they grew up with some of us, you know.
You basically grew up your content, bro.
Yeah. And it always makes me feel old when I hear that. And I know, like, I always talk to Phil from Wong Fu about it, and we all just feel old together. Even though they've been in the game earlier than we did. And some people are like, oh, you Wong Fu started. I'm like, well, they did it first. We came in second wave, but now there's third and fourth wave, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I guess the desire is always there. And then we just started traveling to New York, and we just, you know, we just always loved New York culture growing up in Seattle, like hip hop, basketball, sneakers. I love the energy there. There's pros and cons of each city, man.
Yeah.
Big pros and cons of each place, LA, SF, New York. But we're just enjoying New York right now.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious too, like what was the first YouTube video that you guys made that really put you guys in the map that went viral? It was like, oh, these are the Fung bros.
Man, there was one, it's not up anymore. It got really big on Reddit and 9gag at the time. It was it was a roommate. It was kind of like in the same vein of Lonely Island at the time. It was like this goofy music video about two roommates. Anyways, I won't go into detail about it, but it was funny.
Look it up, guys.
But really, I would say like our Jeremy Lin, Lin Sanity commentary got us the eyeballs. Like we had content on our channel already, and we had done some collaborations with the other YouTubers, but then like I think getting like reposted by ESPN and stuff like that. That was cool. But I wouldn't say just one single piece. 626 music video, out your home, Brian, Temple City and St. Gabriel. But that was kind of like, I guess, cemented us in the kind of Southern California Asian community. But I wouldn't say it was just one piece. I think it's always like you have a body of work, and those pieces drive a lot of eyeballs to you. And they're the ones that usually people immediately say, okay, the Asian mom stuff too. That was a big one. Or the types of Asian girls. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pieces I would point at, even some sneaker stuff. Like we did our Jordans 1 through 29, and that was like still the most viewed Air Jordan breakdown video on the internet. And we did it, like several years ago. So, but no, I mean, I just think we just been going at it, it's not, YouTube is one of those things you have to, like I said, keep paddling, and you might get a hit. Maybe that wave is the video that goes viral, but that don't make your career. You still got to go back out there and hit some more waves. Like you don't ride one wave and you're like, oh, one little wave. You're like, great, I'm done. Surfing's on. You're like, no, I'm trying to get the more. Like you love surfing. You want to go out there and
that's good advice for people starting on YouTube too, because a lot of people get discouraged pretty early on because it's really, really hard to grow on YouTube. And the fact that you said that, it's like there's no such thing as overnight success. You've been paddling the whole time. You've been getting ready for this moment, and it just happened because opportunity means preparation, literally. So hats off to you, man.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really great point too, Andrew. And when Brian and I found out that the mom in your videos was actually an actress, we were so mind blown. But the type of content.
We couldn't sleep that night, man. Like, oh my God, my life is a lie.
But the type of content that you put out with
TMZ broke the news. Yeah, that was big news.
It's super relatable. So a lot of people can understand it.
Yeah, no, it was great. And Cece was loud, she's an actual actress, but she's kind of a family friend at this point, we met her through a mutual friend who was working in Monterey Park, the Michelin. But it was like, I thought she was perfect for it. And, I think it's very funny to play the mom characters and the dad characters yourself. And we've done a little bit of that, but having the real mother there, it was like, it made it so real.
Yeah, definitely.
And I remember my mom texted me, our real mom texted me, because she doesn't want to be on camera, but she was like, oh, it's kind of weird to see you call another woman mom. And so and I was like, oh, wow. But she was like, oh no, I love the videos. I was like, because I think that's how real it was, even to my mom. Even though my mom's not exact, obviously whose mom hits all those points, 10 out of 10, right? But we all see a little bit of it in our parents. So
yeah, definitely.
But I think it was great because it was relatable to a lot of immigrant kids. I saw comments like, oh, my mom's Ethiopian, my mom's Desi's moms are the same way, or like my Mexican mom's the same way. And I was like, oh, that's great. So a lot of these things are not solely just for Asians or Chinese. So it's cool.
I think that's where you guys kind of hit that momentum, because as soon as you have one video that's relatable and it blows up, a lot of people see you guys and you guys are put on the map. So just because you guys have maybe one video that blows up, you guys will continue to keep that momentum and have other videos blow up as well. And so and speaking of that, while you guys were in LA, and because there's so much competition in LA within media and entertainment, how do you what would you say would be like the best advice that you can give in terms of like getting into the creative field? Because there's a lot of YouTubers like trying to get into LA, like they feel like they need to get into LA to actually, pursue this career. So what would you say would be that advice?
Well, it kind of depends on what kind of content you're doing. I think if your ultimate goal is to get into acting, you should probably move to LA. You can do it in New York, but LA it's going to be just the smarter move overall. But if you want to, like our friend Richie Lee, he's killing it out of like Seattle. And he's doing it with people that we all grew up with. And he has like a very, very strong high engagement channel, and he's selling out of his clothing line, Richard Lee Collection. And I do think obviously it helped that he did live with us in LA in the beginning, but man, he's just taken it so far. And I think like you can do it out of anywhere, but it depends on what you want to do. Like if you are flowing with your friends back home and you can convince them and you can organize it and get them to all buy in, you can have a really fun crew out there. And that's what, like, I even look at Mr. Beast, all right? He's not Asian, but like he's based out of, I don't know where, like Kentucky or North Carolina or something. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like he has the biggest channel, and he's not in the big markets, and I don't think he would want to be. And I don't even think I see him travel to LA a lot. Yeah. But then it was something like Superwoman, who based out of like the Toronto area. When she blew up, she wanted to go to she moved to LA, right? And then because she did really want to get into acting and the traditional sides of showbiz, and now she has a show, and like, she's with all the celebrities and stuff. So there's different trajectories, but ultimately, man, I think my advice to people is like, it is a different time now. There's a ton of content out there. It's super saturated, but depends on what you're looking for. If you want to if you do it to make your life better, and you're like, I do it for my friends, I do it for like, if it blows up and goes viral, great. But if it doesn't, I still enjoy myself and it improves my life. And it says what I want to say. And I'm happier and it's positive. Then it's okay. Just do Instagram or TikTok or whatever like that. I don't think it's, I think definitely don't look at YouTube like it's quick money. Yeah. That's like the number. Do not go into it thinking you're going to make a lot of money. I mean, unless you somehow have figured out the game and you've analyzed it to the point you're like, okay, I need to like the market, like you can break it down like, oh, the market doesn't have this, or like it doesn't have this type of person who's like gaming and doing this type of content, and like I can do it better than them, or like right. Or like even in YouTube, how it is in entertainment, like if just someone does the same content but they're like way better looking, like they're just gonna get more views. Like,
I don't know if that helps or not.
It's just the way it is, man. It's just that's the game. Whoever is more appealing. It doesn't have to be just traditional looks, but it could just be whatever your appeal is. So my advice is if you want to do it for your lifestyle and it makes yourself happy, there's nothing wrong with it. Do that. Do the podcast, do everything. It helps you network with people. But if you're really trying to make money, you got to study. I think you got to think about it. And this is for the people who maybe don't have that magic card, those magic tools that they've been born into, maybe like a certain look or a certain like a family that's super funny, that's easy to base a channel around, or like crazy friends, or like, what I mean? Not everybody has those elements that like people love watching. Not everybody even is born a Jake Paul, Logan Paul. By all means, they work hard, but they are like crazy people that are able to, and they had a lot of help on the back end, I think too. But like I think some people, they feel like analysis paralysis. Like you just gotta make it and make adjustments as you put stuff out, But if you're the type of person to analyze the market and space and where you fit, that's great too. But I think some people get lucky and some people just have that it factor. But for those who don't, who want to create, it does take a little bit of more trial and error. But don't get down on yourself. I mean, like it's nothing's easy. Just because there was kind of a bigger window open, you could say when we were maybe 8-9 years ago, there was a bigger window. that doesn't mean it was easy for us to figure it out or easy for anybody to figure it out. You know, it all just took a lot of work.
Yeah.
In a way, you can say, oh, there's more information out there and there's more examples out there to base your decision making off of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the pro and the con, right? Oh, there's more content, more competition, right? It's all a race for your eyeballs and your attention.
Yep.
But there's more examples to go off of. And, you know.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. It just depends on your perspective, you know.
Yeah, and it just depends on what you want out of it. Like you guys are running this podcast. Like, do you guys believe you're going to be the next Joe Rogans? Like, I just know so many people come up to me and like, yo, I want to be like the next Joe Rogan. I'm like, guys, like, all right, you got to be the next. Who's the Joe Rogan's 10 out of 10 level? So what's the 2 out of 10 look like? You got to get there first, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah. And I don't know if having those expectations starting off,
right.
especially with something like podcasting is even healthy because you're just going to be so mad that you're not growing. And I'm just like, oh, you got to just do a good job, add value and love the process. Even for us right now, our views are not as high as they used to be, right? Like it's just over time, you know, like people have seen us and like there's more content out there. So we're not getting quite the views. But I think as long as we're putting out good content, we're still making a living and we're still like enjoying ourselves and working on other projects. We just got to love and trust the process. All right. Joel Embiid said, trust the process.
Yeah,
absolutely agree. I mean, for us, starting the podcast is a means for us to live towards our mission and just amplify people's voices. We enjoy these conversations, you know, we enjoy learning from you. We want to have our community learn from you because you are one of the OGs inside the community that people look up to a lot. We're like super happy to have you. And the fact that you're like every day is a paddle, is an uphill battle and everything. To people, you see you as someone who's very accomplished already, and you may or may not have superpowers that they don't have, and they think that way, you know. But at the end of the day, we're all human. That's the part that we're trying to capture. And you're right. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the moment. You know, because you don't enjoy it, what's the point of doing it? Really?
Right.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. And like, it's all you're all biking uphill, you know, and different people have different bikes. Somebody got the electric motor, somebody just got the fixie, and but you're all going up the hill, you know. And we're given different tools. But one thing I will recommend is always like, if people have a desire to create content, and I'll go on my little Gary V bit, I'm like, just make it first.
Yeah.
Like, shoot it with your friends, your family, whoever you got, you know. If you have something to say, you'll probably figure out like maybe what you're saying, your hot takes aren't hot enough. Your humor isn't hitting enough, you know. You'll figure it out. But like, and maybe ultimately you doing this for the rest of your life is not meant for you, but you have to try it. And I always recommend everybody try it because it's easier to try nowadays. Who knows? You might get lucky. Right. But you never know if you don't actually give it a shot.
That's true.
So just do it and then make adjustments, and maybe you realize it's not for you. That's okay too.
Or maybe along the way you'll learn, you know, what works and what doesn't work, and improve from there.
I think people need to be rooted in real life still. I know as digital as the world is, and at a time when I was young, we were considered very digital kids, right? We were like downloading from Napster, making burn CDs for our friends back in like 6th, 7th grade. We were like on that wave before because our dad's like an engineer. So we just had like a computer and internet before our friends did. So we were like very techie, you know, back then. And then now I look at these kids, I'm like, oh shoot, man, they're like, I feel a little bit old sometimes, but at the end of the day, like, man, there's so many opportunities, but I don't think people like should always base, because some kids, they grow up like with the Instagram and that number or the subscriber number, or like, you know, those numbers that pretty much quantify how much people like you and how popular you are. It's tough.
You don't? Oh my God.
Like, oh, you got a smaller number than me. Like, I know in the early days of YouTube, and still to this day, in a way, it's probably like that. Like, oh, you only got 10K. Well, I got a 200K. Should I collab with this person or something? Like, there was always like, I felt like there was that feeling. And I just like, people, at the end of the day, you live a real life. We're not in the Matrix yet, you know. you know, and we're not reaching those times yet. And I think when people still focus on human connection and relationships and the community, you don't want those things to break down, despite everything becoming so digital, because it is true. Like, I'm sure you guys saw the social dilemma or stuff like that. It's just, it can really mess with you.
Yeah.
If you just worry about what like anonymous people with 140 characters say.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't base your emotions off that. Like, I get it that can affect it, and they can even speak some truth sometimes, but don't like let it affect you because they don't know you.
Yeah. What I like about you and David, though, is that you guys don't really put too much like care and consideration to the number of likes and number of followers, but you guys care more about the message that you guys are getting across, right? And bigger picture.
Be authentic.
Yeah, being authentic. You guys are like super real, and that's what I think a lot of people like about you too.
Yeah. I also think that you also touch upon mental health a lot in this segment. It's, a lot of people, as you mentioned, are judging. Their self-esteem is attached to the videos that they make and the numbers of likes and engagement that you get, you know, and I think it's really good advice to keep it separate. You know, they don't know who you are. Don't let them affect your attitude, your mood. Keep doing you, you know, because everyone is unique. Everyone has a purpose in this world. That's how we feel.
Yeah, no, I think it comes from also knowing some older people. Like, we know a guy out here who runs some pizza shops, and he was like he's a Turkish immigrant, and he comes from a really tough background when he first got here, you know. Yeah. And his name's Hockey from Champion Pizza. Shout out to Hockey. He'd always be like, hey, guys, like, what are you stressing about? Are you happy? Are you happy? Are you healthy? Are your parents good? Are you good? Like, you guys have a good relationship? You just doing your thing? Like, be happy. Like, and then I was just, it was something that simple. And when you hear it from a guy who, you know, was very poor at one time when they first got here, you're just like, yeah, man, like, no, that's another way to think about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have friends whose, you know, parents have passed on, and like, you know, whatever, even with COVID and pandemic and everything, it's just like, you kind of think you got to step back and look at it and be like, just be thankful. Like, yo, I still got my health and I'm still can do the things I want to do. Why am I letting, I got 100 likes instead of I wanted 200 likes. You're like, let that affect your mental health. Like, read it. You can read it like an algorithm. Oh shit. Well, why didn't this get as many likes? Well, maybe because you did this, or it was blurry, or the coloring wasn't right, or like the caption wasn't popping. Yeah. You can look at it analytically and break it down. That's good. Like, and make adjustments. But like, you know, I recommend people still live a regular life. Like, not to be a regular life, but a real life. How about that?
Exactly. Yeah. I love that. I love that advice. Yeah. Social media is a means to, you know, making sure that we have income, but it's not everything, you know, and there's much more important things that actually matter, like family, friends, health, you know, your mental health, your happiness, and everything like that.
And I hope people like can see it in our channel, where we work with so many different types of people. I mean, there's a lot of people in our videos who are not trying to be pro entertainers, or they're not other influencers. There's just people like dudes that we hoop with at the park in New York that we're like, oh man, you're Dominican. He's like, yeah, I'm from DR, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yo, can we do a Dominican food video? You know, like, and it's like, you know, and so we're able to like set people up and just incorporate so many different people into our videos. And they're not only our best friends, or like, they're not only the biggest, most popular influencers, you know? Yeah. I think for us, that's us. Just kind of like, in a way, the message in that is just, hey man, one, everybody can do something cool on the internet. Okay. You don't have to be an influencer already. Two, like, everybody has something to add. Like, and three, like, who cares who's an influencer? Like, these are real people, and the authenticity like comes through, you know? Yeah.
So, I'm very curious, you know, how do you continue to find inspiration for your content, and what are the things that you typically look for when you're, you know, like doing outreach and partnering with people for entertainment and media?
A lot of it is between me and David. It's kind of like things we want to do, or if we have like an urge to say something, like David will be like, man, I want to, we should do like, or we met somebody who would even be good to help out on this video. Like Marco, who's been showing up in our videos, he's a real Sicilian, New York guy, you know, from the Lower East Side, born and raised. He's just an authentic New York guy. And we were just playing basketball and we met him and we're just like, yo, this guy's funny. Like he's charismatic. And we just connected and became friends. And then he's just helping like do these Italian videos. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I got an Italian friend to help me like go through Little Italy and experience Italian food on a level that I may have not without him, you know, and his stories of his Italian family are just so hilarious. And I think that is like inspiration to meet other people, you know, that just like, you're like, oh, this could be fun. Like I like hanging out with this person already. If this person just, you know, does a little research and makes a few phone calls, like it'll be a good video, you know, or at least it'll be fun and authentic. Yeah. And like I said, like, I think some people, they either do videos only by themselves or like only with other influencers. And I totally understand that because those people are still alike you and they're still in the same space. I think there's drawbacks to working with people who are not in the same space as you. For us, you know, we're kind of drawing in these real friends or characters that we know to be in videos, but they're not necessarily like in the game, like in the social media game or in the content creation game full time. So maybe they're not as available, or they're like, yo, I work a regular job. I'm off at 3 p.m. We got to, you know, like, I'm like, oh, cool. As opposed to working with people who are like in LA, especially, you know, there's a lot of actors and like, you know, life's a little more chill out there. I think don't always have to work as hard, but like they're a little bit more free. You know, a little bit more available, you know? But yeah, so there's pros and cons, but like, I think for us personally, this is just how we, you know, like to do things. That it's just, it's so beneficial just to get that like realness out there.
Yeah, definitely authenticity, and it's knowledgeable too because you're like learning about other people's culture. And
yeah. I mean, I would admit I'm not a master at the internet. Like, you know, I haven't even tweeted really anything in like so long. We obviously are not focused solely on our Instagram, you know, to like build up our following there, you know, and like, I'm not constantly posting one every day, you know, it's, so I could be better. Like, so when you guys like kind of like, it's funny because when people like talk to us and they're like, oh, you guys are like experts at OGs. I'm like, man, I've been in the game for a while. I'm not like a master at it. I might know and have a perspective on it, you know, but I'm not a master at it. I would never say that.
We love how humble you are too.
Yeah. What are yours and David's plans and goals for the next 5 years?
Good question. I feel like people used to ask us that 6-7 years ago, even when we first went officially full-time in YouTube, and they were like, so what now? What are you guys doing in 5 years? And I was like, yo, I'm just doing YouTube, chill out, you know? But now after, you know, some time, I think that I have a slightly different answer where I'm like, yo, I still imagine doing YouTube and creating content. I don't think YouTube's going away anytime soon. But definitely doing other stuff. Like we're working on a book right now. So just working, you know, got a writer to help work on the book proposal. Not the entire book yet. It was, you know, that's like a whole nother like section to it. But just, beefing up the book proposal right now, and then like kind of working on this food concept in New York. And opening restaurants take a long time, take a lot of attack power. It requires some team building. And these are things that like knowing real people helps in, but I'm not even going to lie. Like if we just spent the next like 2 months solely networking and in the food industry, we'd probably get a little bit farther along. But since we still have to do digital stuff, you know, that's why we're doing a lot of food content right now for a couple of reasons. One, I do honestly find it interesting. I think people should, can take something away from it. Two, New York has so many great, passionate chefs and small businesses and even big businesses and big restaurants that you can draw a lot of like knowledge and inspiration from. But three, for us, it's just like I learn a lot every time I talk to owners and stuff like that. So it's enriching for me. It's kind of like doing this podcast for you guys. It's like, you want to put on my voice, but also you're gaining something from doing this. You know, you're gaining knowledge, right? Or at least a different perspective, right? Having a conversation that we would maybe not usually have. Right. We're not necessarily doing this. So I think that's good. And I think anything that improves your life and makes you smarter and teaches you something, that's also really important to do. And so that's kind of like one thing that we're doing. We might start this we didn't announce it on our channel officially, so technically I'm telling you some stuff that we didn't announce on the channel officially of doing a food concept.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, so but that's like something that we're doing. And it does require a lot of like real life people, because like, you know, if you need people making like to help you make the food or like serve other people, you know, it's not a digital business. We're not building an app. You know, we would be selling food to people hand to hand. So
that's awesome. Congratulations.
I mean, this is like, if anybody's interested, you know, feel free to hit us up if they're in New York and are interested in something like that to hear more. But yeah, we were probably going to start a series on our channel, maybe like kind of like updating people on the process of that.
Amazing.
So yeah, the book, the restaurant, and the channel, like always still doing that. We might get a dog soon.
So many updates right now.
A lot of things you guys we'll put it on the channel. I know on the channel we don't like, show our personal lives and like,
Yes. Can't wait
a
for the
lot.
dog
We're not that, I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to being such a personal channel.
Yeah.
If people love your content, you feel like people love you, and they are in a way more engaged to personalities. And you see the downfalls where like if people start to dish you, then you feel like they're dissing you as a person, as an individual, as a soul. And I'm like, ooh, that could be very like
Right.
So for us, but we always, I mean, you know, if we ever need to talk about ourselves and get personal more, we have that in our bag.
Right. Yeah.
Bust that out, but
that's very valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, Andrew, how can our listeners learn more about you and find? Well, obviously, they know more about you. I mean, you can mention some of your social media.
I think you get to know us through our like Instagram stories, because we fire those off pretty quickly and they're like pretty real. And we might even make some jokes on there that we don't even make on the channel, because the channel is kind of like it's content that gets edited, you know, and like goes through somewhat of a process. So but yeah, I mean, Instagram stories, but check out the channel if you haven't in a while. We just thank everybody who's seen us over the years, and a lot of people haven't been watching us for a while. I understand. Sometimes they're like, yo, I grew up on you. And then I'm like, okay. And then they like and they haven't been watching anything recently. That's fine. But I think if you check out the channel, I think everybody will find something that they might like. But you know, it's tough to keep an audience for this long, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Hats off to you, man.
Props to you and David.
Yeah, no, long food. I mean, we always talk about it with Phil. Like, you talk to them about it too. We're the old guys, sort of.
You guys stay with the tons. But yeah, appreciate you being on the show so much, Andrew.
It was amazing hearing about your story and just.
I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, it was fun.
Definitely.
It was good. Like, and I hope that, I hope as many people listen to this podcast as ever, man. I hope it's a good episode.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Yo, thanks, guys.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to the show.
We would like to get to the top 10 on iTunes, so be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We release an episode every single Wednesday, so stay tuned.
Thank you guys so much.